confession to make. I have a huge sweet tooth and absolutely love anything salty and crispy. And I eat these things when I'm not hungry. And I have eaten a lot of these things when I've been feeling stressed or lonely or depressed or hopeless or overwhelmed and or in general states of grief. This is called emotional eating. I don't think I'm alone. And my guest today is an expert in helping us understand and change our emotional eating patterns. So, welcome everyone to the Midlife Reset podcast. This is episode number 23, where we guide women through the tools of yoga and mindfulness so they can feel stronger and sleep better and live lighter. I'm your host, Cheryl Gordon, and today I'm thrilled to sit down with an inspiring expert, Kim Hines. She's a compassionate nutritional health coach who helps women over 40 finally heal their relationship with food and body without punishing diets or lots of shame. Kim, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome.
Hi, Cheryl. I'm honored to be here and congratulations, episode 23.
Woot woot. Kim, you can help women break free from emotional eating and those exhausting diets that just they never really seem to work in the long term. Can you share how your own journey has led you to this sort of holistic approach?
Absolutely. I realize as I go back and I really dig deeper into my own patterns that it started as young as 8 to 10 years old. I was left at home, and I don't know in Canada what they call it, but in America, we called it being a latchkey kid, where
Mm.
your parents would go and the kids would get off the bus. They'd be home alone until dinner when the parents came home. And I got put in charge of my younger brother, who was very stressful because he just did whatever he wanted, and it was
Younger
just me at
brothers
home.
are.
Exactly. So I would dig in. My mom always had stuff for baking. Like, she had chocolate chips. We had this lemonade that would come in a tub, Country Time lemonade, and it was a powder. And I would lick my finger and stick it in the lemonade because it was all sugar and lemon. So I found my own ways because we didn't have a lot of sugar in the house unless my mom did bake. Back then, it was a real treat. We didn't have things like Twinkies or anything around. So that was the first that I can remember that under stressful situations, I went looking for it. And in high school, I would, because I had my own money and I could go to the little stand, I would skip lunch and I would grab this package of 3 grandma's cookies and a little carton of milk, and that's what I would have for lunch every day. And then the worst of my emotional eating came in college, where I was so stressed out my freshman year. I got put into some really interesting situations when I went away to school, and I really wasn't ready. I wasn't mature enough emotionally. Everything that happened to me that year was because I really needed a year at home, but my parents divorced that year. So trying to figure out where I would live, I just went to college. And this is where I could go to the convenience store and nobody would know that I was grabbing the Reese's peanut butter cups. And anybody who knows me knows that peanut butter and chocolate is my thing that I go to when I'm really stressed out. And I gained 25 pounds during that time. And that is when I also began the diet cycle where people made comments at home. I even had a boyfriend when he broke up with me, told friends that his other girlfriend had a better body. And it just
Oh,
started
ouch.
this cycle and this labeling. So when I would restrict and diet, because that's all we knew was to stop eating and move more,
Mhm.
then I would end up binging after doing that for a while. And this restrict binge cycle just kept going on and on. And the probably the last moments of emotional eating that I was really hooked in was I unfortunately went through my own divorce. And before I got remarried, I was a single mom for about 6 years, and getting used to the kids going and spending time with their father. I'd have these weeks alone, week on, week off. And those were the times that I would really get into it because I was alone. I was lonely. I was sad. I was getting used to a new situation, and I literally used it to escape. And I, even one of my worst nights was in my pajamas. I drove to the gas station to get a king size Hershey chocolate bar. And so that was my journey. And when I taught high school math for a while. I was on the outside very healthy. I was a marathon runner, but inside I was dying. And I knew in that phase of my life when I was getting to my late 30s, I wanted to talk to women about this. I wanted to open up. And I also wanted to help with nutrition and health because, as you know, because you work with midlife women, we were all starting to go through these changes. And I realized that's where I could serve people better. So that journey led me to nutritional health coaching, food addiction coaching, and a lot of other ways for EFT tapping certifications because I needed so many tools because I had to help myself first.
Right. And Kim, you're saying all that, and I'm cringing for you because I have been a single mom. I have done the midnight run to the convenience store. Me, it was always the salty, crunchy things that drove me there, though. And I know that crushing loneliness. I know it. So I'm with you, girlfriend. So in yoga, we often talk about listening to the body. It's often repeated, but you teach that in terms of food. How does that work in real life, Kim? Listening to about food.
Yes, and it's one of the hardest things to do. It's literally one of the last steps that we get into. We first have to slow the body down. We have to connect with it. And it's great because you and I've had conversations about this before. I use tapping and breathing in order to help slow the body down. Slowing down and being mindful in every part of our lives has to happen before it can just happen. We can't just do it in food. So we are so disconnected. And I love that you brought this question up because we think, oh, we have no willpower. There's something wrong with us. We're gluttonous. But what's really happening is we've cut ourselves off from feeling any emotion at all. So what we have to work on first is the emotions. How are we processing the emotions? How are we sitting in them? And how are we soothing the body and the mind? And even we talk about physical and we talk about emotional, but even spiritually in order to enhance our whole life. And I have a saying, I always say, nourish your entire life because we have to nourish the entire life before we can just get to the food because it's not about the food. So we can only connect with our bodies when we've started taking care of ourselves in other parts of our lives.
So that sounds like self-compassion to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Grace and self-compassion.
So what does that translate to when you work with your clients and you're trying to get them to be willing to say face a strong emotion, like when you were going through that crushing loneliness, when your babies were out of your sight and out of your care for a whole week, like how do you deal with something like that? Like that's visceral, right?
It really is. And I think the biggest part for my clients is they just have to be able to talk about it. And so when someone comes to me, we're not just laying out a meal plan. We're not saying this food is good, this food is bad. We're starting with what's going on in your life right now and how are you coping with it? And we find the tools that we can use in order to cope with those emotions. And when I was going through it, I didn't know that I should be sitting without the TV on. I should be sitting by myself and I should be allowing the emotion. We're afraid. We're very, very afraid of hurting. We're very, very afraid of being scared, having fear. And when we realize what anxious thoughts really are, they are a base of fear. And when we really get down to it, that fear is not as big as we think it is. It's just something that we have created because we've lost a little control. We think we've lost control with food, we've lost control of the fear, and we have to bring it down. And sometimes I'll even say to my clients, what is the worst case scenario? What's really the worst thing that can happen right now? You're going to be single for a little while. What's the worst case scenario? What's the best case scenario? You fall in love again. You get to go out on some dates. We go through every scenario. So I am not a mental health counselor. I'm going to put that disclaimer out there. However, nutritional health coaching and food addiction coaching has a lot of talking involved, not just food and exercise.
Right. And so many people just say, tell me what to eat. Or for me, they'll come to me and say, tell me the magic pose that'll help me to lose weight. If you go on the internet, there's all those silly things, you know? And
Yes.
so I think we're both saying the same thing is that you need to be your own best friend and have those tools to lead you to that self-compassion. And then you can start understanding why you're eating at the gas station at 11:30 at night. Can we talk about EFT? That's emotional freedom technique, right?
Yes. Well, it's really funny because I started my certification class to learn how to use it for my clients, and it turned out to be my number one tool for myself because we've talked about meditation and breathing. I find it to be a struggle on some days to meditate and to let go of my thoughts. And when I finally understood, first of all, meditation isn't just having no thoughts, it's allowing those thoughts to flow. That made sense to me, but my nervous system was still just on edge enough that I couldn't really sit and appreciate that stillness. So, what tapping is we are able to use our acupressure points, and I use the top of the head, the inner eyebrow, the outer cheekbone, under the eye, under the nose, under the mouth, and the collarbone. In fact, I have a free tapping video for anyone who would like it to learn how to use tapping to stop emotional eating. But this tapping really resonated with me because I found even if I didn't know what was wrong with me, I could just tap and all of a sudden it would come to me. And 99% of the time, my stress was fear based. Again, so it's funny how it just comes back around. And when we tap, we have a script, and I teach my clients how to use their own life. And we don't have to use the exact script. And if you don't know what to do, you just tap for a while and then you can choose a script of I choose peace, I choose love,
Yeah.
whatever resonates with you.
Such a, speaking of script, this is off script, but when you were showing your tapping points, they correspond to some energy points that we know in yoga
Yes.
as marma points. And I do think it's quite magic the way it can help you tune into some inner peace or inner calm. It's quite interesting. You get exposed to that if you do like something like an Indian head massage at a spa
Yes.
or something like that.
Yes.
So, how long does the tapping normally take? What kind of investment of time?
2 minutes.
Two
You can
minutes.
do
So
two
that's
minutes and
pretty
be, yes, you
immediate.
can do it as much as you want, but it's usually only about 120 seconds. The first time I do it with someone, I ask permission and I ask, can I take 120 seconds of your time to try this? Because people are a little leery. And what's really interesting, I'm not trying to throw men under the bus. I mostly work with women, but men are the ones that are very skeptical. And when they go through a session, even just 2 minutes, when they open their eyes at the very very end, we close our eyes and we do a round with our eyes closed, and I tell them where to tap. And it's funny because when they open their eyes, you can see the shift that they've made.
Yeah, because eyes really do show whether you're in a stress response or relaxation response or you're fluid in that. Eyes will show that right away.
Yes.
So that's amazing. So that's a really immediate, really accessible tool that people can take, and so people can download your free guide. So there's really
Absolutely,
no excuse
absolutely.
not to jump in.
Exactly. And something funny that I've had my clients do is they just will do it on their collarbone in the car when they're stressed out with traffic. They'll be at a stoplight and they'll just sit on their collarbone and they'll just tap away, and it helps soothe them. And if you think about it, think about babies or kids that have little ticks that they use to feel better, whether they're feeling skin, playing with a blanket. Tapping is a similar soothing response, and this can take the place of soothing yourself with food.
Yeah, so when I'm having that craving at night, when I want to not feel lonely or not feel sad or any of those really, really big emotions, you could try a technique like tapping. What are some of the other tools that you might bring into a session?
Yeah, so I talk about some physical tools that I would like them to be doing on a regular basis. One of the first things is consciously nourishing your body throughout the day. we're finding that there's too much of the diet culture in our brains. Women our age, we grew up with the things like Slim Fast and the dieting and South Beach diet and all the different diets, grapefruit diet. My mom did a liquid medical diet at one point. And so we are not used to actually purposely putting the right foods in our bodies. We're used to taking out things, and that's restriction. And our brain reacts to that negativity when we are adding really good food into our bodies. And